I come to you wearing a couple hats today. One is a member of the General Assembly, Assistant Majority Leader, and also as a former party activist, county party chairman, and others. The bill before you is a long path to get here. I want to summarize very quickly. This has been an issue the Republican Party's talked about for years. The goal, as I've always understood it, is to prevent people from playing mischief in each other's primaries. To not allow people who are active members of one party choosing to vote in another party in order to mischief the results. And I think that is an important endeavor that we should look at. A lot of this comes from, you might remember in 2008, 2020, Rush Limbaugh famously had something called Operation Chaos, where he actually actively attempted to get people to vote in the Democratic primary. I do want to point out, obviously in a failing way, because the people he wanted Republicans to vote for did not win. So I think it's worth pointing out that even in a coordinated effort like that, the outcome was not changed. I do want to address some of the parts of the bill. The bill does have to have a lot of changes made to it, partially because some parts of the bill actually already passed the House and other pieces of legislation, dates need to change. But I do want to address some of the more controversial pieces that have come up. You know, I actually had someone apparently show up to my university where I teach at yesterday and go around campus and put stuff on cars and stuff like that. I would say that's over the line, but sadly there are people sitting at this dais who actually had people show up to their churches on Sunday this last year, so I think my offense is a little lower than that. I hate that politics has gotten to that point where people do that and think that's appropriate. Secondly to that, this bill is not about any particular person. I've seen people try to talk about this bill being about supposedly David Pascoe and his campaign for Attorney General. I've never met Mr. Pascoe or spoken to him. And if they believe that this bill is targeting him, I would hate to know why they think so. If it is, it was very much a long-term plan, because this bill passed in Tennessee years ago, and unless the people in Tennessee were trying to stop David Pascoe from running for AG 6 or 7 years later, I don't think that was their target. And secondly, that I think while they were passing that bill, and including while this bill was being drafted in the summer of 2024 with the state party, Mr. Pascoe was still door knocking with James Clyburn. So I don't know if I was supposed to know that he was changing parties or anybody else was. But that is simply not accurate to say, and I do think it was a misstep to make this about one person when it was a party initiative that has been passed in other states. Nextly, I think anybody that has served in the party apparatus, I'm one of those people. I was a party chair, a district chair, an executive committeeman. So my personal Facebook page is still filled with a lot of people who serve on the EC, who have served on the EC, who've been party chairs. And I can say unequivocally that this has been the nastiest debate internally that I've ever witnessed within the party structure. The divide on this topic and the divide between these two pieces of legislation have truly put, I believe, the party into a civil war. And if you're sitting there and you've seen social media, it's been pretty rough. And I've seen members of the executive committee on different sides of this calling each other names, accusing each other of trying to do things, and to me, that is over the line. And then nextly to that, here we are today being asked to step into this debate while also confronting the fact that our governor has said just last week he's vetoing both of these bills and was clear about it. He didn't equivocate. He didn't say, maybe. He was pretty clear. We're also sitting here with a Senate that has never once even considered the topic, has shown zero interest of taking it up. And as the assistant leader and also as someone who wants to be a realist in the legislative process and as the lead sponsor of this bill, I don't think today is the day to do that. I believe that if the party is this divided, it needs to be on the same page. This body and our members should not be placed in the part of trying to create a kumbaya moment between two warring factions within the party. To me, the party needs to unite around one idea, one concept, and agree on it. But asking us to pick between them, I don't think is fair. I do want to address one big difference between the bills that I believe is very important and matters a lot to me, and that is In 3643, the bill allows unaffiliated voters to vote in the primary. That is very important to me. I think that not allowing independents to vote in our primary is detrimental to the Republican Party and our future and our success. I'll give you some statistics to that. In 2012, 603,000 people voted in the presidential primary that featured Rick Santorum, Newt Gingrich, and Mitt Romney. In 2016, 4 years later, 740,000 people did that. That's a 23% increase over 4 years in turnout. That increase is what fueled Donald Trump to win that primary. I don't think any of us would disagree with that. I remember standing at the polls that day and seeing people come in there who have never voted in a Republican primary in their life to vote for Donald Trump. Those same people across this country are why he won in 2016. Barring them from having the ability to vote in a primary, I think is wrong. If you want to prevent mischief of people who are active members of one party or the other doing it, I agree. But if your goal is to prevent independent voters from having the opportunity to vote Republican primary, to me that is a red line that I would never cross or support. Secondly, I think it'd be very dangerous for one party to do it and not the other. I can see a scenario where the Republican Party does not allow independents and the Democratic Party does, and not to give Mr. Bamberg free political advice, but I think if we want to grow the Democratic Party, tell independents that their only way to vote in a primary when they show up to vote that day is a Democratic primary. And so to me, that is a red line in this debate. I do think going forward, if this is a topic that we're going to be asked to take up, knowing there's no way that the bill could be implemented before this election anyway, filing opens in just a couple weeks, and so the ballots have to be set by a certain time for overseas ballots just a couple days after the filing closes, and facing a governor who's promised a veto and a Senate that doesn't care, I don't believe now is the time to move forward two bills that the party does not agree on in any way. If the party wants to do closed primaries, we need to speak with one voice in that debate before asking the General Assembly to get in the middle of an active civil war over two concepts. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I hope that summarizes the bill and states my position on it.
Thank you.